Epiphany. One definition says sudden intuitive insight into the essential meaning of something. This week's gospel for the week of the Feast of Epiphany is literally a feast of epiphanies. It's chock full of insights into the meaning of the coming of God, the coming of Christ, and the transformation it promises for you and for me and for all the people of the world. Let's start with the vision of the Magi. They had been devoting their lives to studying the heavens and the stars. And then suddenly, there was this bright light that they'd never seen before. For all their astronomical knowledge, they were baffled and intrigued. So they dropped everything they were doing and set out to follow whatever this strange star would lead. Mile after mile, over mountains, across deserts, they fixed faithfully on the constant celestial signpost which led them to the newborn Jesus. The journey of the Magi raises the question, what star do you follow? Does it lead to Jesus? Or is it all about getting and keeping up with more stuff? Filling the holes in our soul with things like a bigger paycheck or a bigger house or season tickets or maybe the newest iPhone or the hippest sneakers. Those things that I've just listed are not bad things, they're good. But I've also gone to many funerals, and as I think about those things, they shrink in their significance. You see, the Magi got it right the first time. Follow your star to Jesus, to His love, His way, because they are all that endures. Folks, if you look, all four Gospels have examples of the Messiah, of the chosen people, reaching out to all the people of God's creation. Significantly, right from the birth of Jesus, God mobilized the heavens to reach out all the way to Persia. But today, we walk in the footsteps of the Magi, but our homes are far much further away than Persia. See, we follow Christ from across cultures and across millennia. The gates of heaven have been thrown open to us. No matter how humble our conditions, we stand before the throne of God, no less noble than kings, no less loved or beloved than the prophets, and no less entitled than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You see, the Magi, they didn't come empty-handed, and neither should we. Jesus, the Son of God, the second person of the Trinity, does not need our gold and our frankincense and our myrrh, because all creation does His bidding. But He does want us to give back for our own sake, to clearly express our gratitude, to get some skin in the game, as they say. You see, our gifts, our tithes, our charity, our service, but none of us buys God's love and redemption. Those are gifts outright. You see, the Magi, they didn't bribe the star to lead them to Jesus. The Magi didn't pay Mary and Joseph to see the baby. They humbly laid their gifts at the feet of the newborn King, in adoration and in gratitude and in awe. And so should we. You see, folks, Epiphany is the perfect time for us to alter our course. It's a time to remember that only Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. It's a time to recognize that our star, the grace of God, that it is still leading us to Jesus. See, the Magi, they didn't journey alone. They journeyed together, and so should we. Jesus is waiting. In joyful praise and adoration, let us follow the star together. Among the beloved songs that we've sang this Christmas season, We Three Kings of Orient Art. See, the hymn was written by a gentleman named Hopkins, and it's a dramatization of today's gospel reading. It tells how the kings followed the star of wonder, the star of night, the star of royal beauty bright, which led them to the new king born in Bethlehem. It doesn't say that they went to Bethlehem or that they found the baby there. The gospel does not indicate how many kings traveled or even that they were kings at all. Their royalty is based on the Psalms text that's associated with this feast. Their number is assumed by their three gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. The stanzas of the hymn, if you go back, we didn't sing them all, but each one is devoted to each king and the gift that he carried with him and what that gift reveals about Christ. Not only the infant Christ, but also Christ the man. We sung in unison as a congregation. This hymn puts us unmistakably as participants in this sacred story. You see, the song doesn't begin, those three kings, does it? But it says, we three kings. You and I find ourselves on the road to Bethlehem, dressed in royal attire, and our hands hold presents for the new monarch whose birth is foretold in the night sky. It is we kings who carry to the Christ child our gold, our frankincense, and our myrrh. This gospel story doesn't tell us that it just happened once, but it tells us what happens and can happen in our lives here and now. Perhaps there's no bright star that beams above to indicate this tremendous event. Perhaps we don't even need to muddy our boots and travel across the fields and fountains, moor and mountains. Yet still ours is a royal dignity. We are created in God's image, and we can enjoy no rest until we look upon the glory of God face to face. What gifts do we royal ones have for this Christ? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh? You see, gold is fit for a king. Frankincense is a fragrance that rises to God. And myrrh is a resin used to embalm the dead. These are the gifts we offer, not to the infant Christ alone, but to the adult Christ as well. Not just to the baby born in Bethlehem, but to the one that has risen and who reigns among us. So here we go. We give to Christ our gold. When we realize that our lives are not our own private possession. We give Christ our gold when we know that we are not here to pursue our own pleasures, our own objectives, or even our own sense of duty. But we are here to do what Christ wants us to do. But we have trouble giving our gold to Him. We have trouble even seeing that this is what we ought to do. More often than not, we seek a self-fulfillment outside of Him, whether it's through achievements or possessions or a quick fix. We seek self-fulfillment outside of Him, and the self that is fulfilled, but a shadow of what we are meant to be. We need not clutch our treasures to ourselves. Let us give our gold to Him. We give Christ our frankincense when we make our lives a prayer offered in response to Him. We give Christ frankincense when we try to pray even as we breathe, in season and out of season, in good times and bad. This incense we offer through prayer may only be a few small granules, yet it's an offering that pleases the Lord of heaven and of earth. But so often we have trouble giving Him our frankincense. We have trouble even seeing that this is what we ought to do. You see, the embers meant to ignite our incense. It's grown cold and grown dark. These embers, simplicity and silence, a willingness to listen, a readiness to wait, are too often absent in our lives. But we need not be empty of prayer. You see, the flames can rise again, hot and joyous, and the smoke could pour out if we give our frankincense to God. If we give Christ myrrh when we join Him in His suffering for the life of the world. We give Christ myrrh when we do not suffer hopelessly, but offer up pain in union with His. The choice is not ours whether we are going to suffer, but how we will suffer. Whether ours will be the meaningless pain that's driving us down to hell, or the pain that brings new life that lifts us up to heaven. But we have trouble giving Christ our myrrh. We have trouble even seeing that this is what we ought to do. We want protection from pain rather than for Christ to conquer it. We would rather deny death and avoid life than to have Christ trample death and bestow life. Do we dare to allow our hearts to go wild? His stay in the tomb was only for a time. Christ's resurrection contains a promise of our own. Let us give Christ our myrrh. My friends, we are royal persons made in God's image, kings from the Orient, bearing gifts to Christ of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. These gifts reveal Him as Lord of our lives, God of the Most High, as death's conqueror. These gifts reveal to us as people obedient to Christ, who pray even as we breathe, who die with Christ, and are raised with Him. These gifts also reveal the enduring Christian path, the way we take with Christ from His birth to His death, from the wood of the manger to the wood of the cross, from the stable's darkness to the tomb's darkness, from the light of the midnight star to the light of resurrection morning. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.